Who's that, Rosita? Are you watching Talking Dead?
No.
Turn it to Talking Dead. Yeah, check out the dress that she's wearing. Fucking Eugene.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of After the Dead. I am Matt.
I'm Kyle.
And we have just finished watching the Season 8 premiere, Episode 100 of The Walking Dead, titled Mercy. Kyle, what were your first thoughts on tonight's episode of The Walking Dead?
It was great. Heart was pounding. I was actually excited.
Heart was pounding?
Yeah, actually it was. Like, there was a couple parts where I was pretty excited.
Now, I mean, let's talk about how if you listened and tuned into our Season 8 preview episode, you heard me pretty much say that I was guessing the flashback, Old Man Rick, was going to be a flashback. And I was pretty much right.
See Rosita?
Yes, I see Rosita.
Holy shit. All right, keep going.
But, yeah, so Old Man Rick was a flashback. They were kind of all over the place with this episode.
They really were.
They took pieces from issue 115 of The Walking Dead. They took pieces from issue 116. They primarily stuck in 115, 116. But with the flashbacks, I mean, you're going all the way up to the end of All Out War. So they're kind of all over the place, and I thought it was kind of interesting that they chose to go Another One Rides the Bus with Weird Al Yankovic.
Right. I'm hoping Rosita has a wardrobe malfunction.
Oh my god. You do realize that we're live streaming, right?
No.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Talking about Rosita having a wardrobe malfunction.
I mean it, though, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I didn't expect you not to mean it, but yeah. So, what were your thoughts on The Walking Dead? What did you like? What did you not like about it?
I like that they took a few good chunks. I wish they would have done more. What it looks like they're going to do is it looks like the real battle from 116 that they're going to have, they kind of took a piece of it, but it looks like they're going to do it again because, like if you go back to the comic in 116, remember they drive the bus up there and they're using cover of the bus.
Yeah.
And that's when they're shooting out the windows, but they've already shot out the windows prior.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they're actually going to go back and fight them like once again there, because it looks like they're like it kept jumping around. So like that speech he made was in the episode like 3 times where he's standing there in the field.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that is actually a different battle for something else that they're actually going to do, because they've already kind of done the whole first part of the war where they show up to Negan and they, you know what I mean, and they shoot, and there's you know what I mean, and there's already gunfire. What would you think they're really going to do it again?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong too, and I believe they kind of change it in this episode where in the comic, isn't it Negan and his group that unleashes the walkers on Rick and everyone outside of the sanctuary? I don't think it's Rick's group that leads the walkers to them.
I thought it was them that did it because it was the. Hold on, my computer just crashed out. I had it all up and ready.
Because I went through and read episode 115, 116, 117, and 118. And, like, so you had the stuff with Gabriel, where he's saying that the hilltop stands with Negan, that's at the end of 115 and carries over into 116 of The Walking Dead when they push him overboard and he gets pretty much, almost attacked by zombies, but he ends up later, spoiler, going back to Hilltop, and they kind of banish him, I guess you could say.
I think I was trying to see No, they crash through and the walkers come in. They actually, Rick actually crashes through in a truck and breaks the gates of Sanctuary, and that's when the walkers start coming in. Or not. It's not Rick.
Then you got to see more of like the speech that Michonne gives Carl about how he's the one in charge of Alexandria while Rick and the group are out doing this because she's too beat up. That's out of 115 as well, where it's actually Andrea who says it and gives that same exact speech. They cut out the part where Rick comes back and hugs Carl and kind of says that, this is your show. We need you to protect the house while I'm gone. What did you think of the beginning of the episode, how they kind of had that shot-for-shot remake of episode 1? So it was kind of cool to have an homage to episode 1 and episode 100.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool to do too. But I mean, we kind of knew that they were going to do it. They had kind of warned us that was their intent, was to do that. So it wasn't really. I think it would have been better if they would have kept it quiet, so that it was actually like a surprise, like holy shit.
Yeah.
Instead of being forewarned because you were expecting it.
Well, I mean, you got to see everything. Like you got to see, like it was shot for shot, but it was Carl, and then I like how Rick shows up and shoots his gun over the crazy dude's head to chase him off, and then you see that same, like, I don't know if it's the same little girl because she looked a lot older, but almost a zombie dressed identically walking towards him, and like Rick takes his axe out and goes after her. What? Yeah.
What? Oh shit.
Well, I was gonna say this is definitely a different Rick. Like he is more brutal. More I don't care. You kind of see it when he attacks one of the saviors and stabs him and leaves him there as the walker that's wrapped up in the power lines is trying to grab him. And the guy's like, your son's gonna die. What are you doing, Rick? And then Rick just cuts the line and lets the zombie go after him. Like it's truly a more hardcore Rick. Like I don't give a fuck. Like with Rick, all fucks are given, or all fucks are gone.
I think he's focused. He knows what he needs to do. He knows what, you know what I mean? He knows that the other Rick wasn't working. He knows that he has to take charge. He has to do things. There's something that needs to be accomplished, and he knows it's not going to happen without him. So he knows what role he has to be a part of this. You know what I mean? He knows it's him and a group, but he knows it's him that's given everybody the that morale to do what needs to be done. And so he knows that that's what they're looking to him for.
I like how everyone kind of got their own little moments in this episode. Michonne and Rick had their moment. Carl had his moment. Daryl and Carol had their moment. Everyone kind of had I can't think of his name right now. Father Gabriel had his moment. Like everyone had their own little moments without focusing on those solo episodes, which are so nice. And I don't see those solo episodes working in season 8, so I don't think we're going to get very many of those.
No, I think they got a lot of backlash on that because I thought it was stupid.
I liked, I thought the special effects in this episode were really good. Like towards the end where they blow everything up and you see like just the top half of the one zombie from like the shoulders up squirming around and stuff. Like, I thought that was all done really, really well.
Better than past ones. The only thing I didn't really care for was that when they went up, and it kind of showed all of Sanctuary and all the walkers coming in.
Yeah.
I thought there was chunks of that looked good, and there was chunks of that looked cheesy.
Yeah.
Like, like what they wanted you to focus in on, I thought they did well. But what the outer edges of it where it wasn't your focal point looked cheesy. You know what I mean? But I mean, they made Shiva look better.
Yeah.
Like it. I still don't get how comfortable, or I don't give a fuck. If that was for real and there was a chain up or not, there's a fucking tiger there, I'd be scared.
In the bed of a pickup truck?
In the bed of a pickup truck.
Yeah.
Sitting to my left of a fucking little spot where everybody's talking. I don't give a shit anywhere. That's fucking scary.
I don't know how much of the Michonne fucking, I can't think of it, King Ezekiel / Carol King Ezekiel relationship is going to cross over, because if you're in the comic, like after the attack on Alexandria, they slept together and they talk about Shiva taking a shit in Michonne's tub. And you don't really see, like, you saw that embrace, like he was happy to see Carol, but they're definitely slow playing this episode because you can't tell if Carol and Daryl have got a thing or Ezekiel and Carol have got a thing. It's kind of a weird, like,
it's
triangle,
kind of in limbo.
like a love triangle they got going on right now.
Because in the beginning of 115, Ezekiel wakes up next to Michonne, and Michonne brings him coffee.
That's what I was saying. He talks about how Shiva just took a shit in her tub.
Yeah.
And she says that we're not a thing, so I don't really know. I don't know how they're going to handle that dynamic or that relationship.
I mean, I guess eventually it's going to unfold, but they are leaving it like in a gray area of not sure. Like you could tell we can go one way or the other.
We didn't see any sign of the Garbage Pail Kids. We didn't see any sign of Oceanside. We got nothing as far as that goes. No.
I think they're going to come later when their backs are against the wall.
I thought there's been rumors out there that Heath is coming back, so I figured we would have saw the return of Heath in this episode. Like, I thought that we were going to get a lot more in this episode than we did.
He's supposed to lose his leg here soon.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get a lot more than we did. Like, it was a lot of preparation. I kind of felt...
And they kind of spent all last season doing that. I figured that it would... I also agree that I figured it'd be a little bit more balls to the wall because they spent an entire season building this up.
Well, this definitely feels like this episode is building, and it's kind of the kickoff to craziness going forward. Like, I expect every episode to just be nuts going forward. Like, the most action we've seen in the season of Walking Dead.
At least half of the season, I've assumed.
It'll be interesting, like I said, to see how things play out, but you really got... I don't think that... Even though I called it, I don't like the way they're doing the flashback, and I kind of hope...
It's not even a flashback. It's like a
flash forward.
Like, it's almost like Rick is like projecting what it's going to be afterwards.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not, because like he's walking with a cane, which already tells you that Negan breaks his leg.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're giving us a glimpse of what's to come as fans of The Walking Dead, or I don't know. At least they're not. I am glad they're not doing it as a flashback. I didn't want to see it as a memory. I want to see it as it's going, like it's actually current right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What did you think of? What do you think of Dwight's character so far in this?
I think him and Daryl, same thing I said before. We both said before, with him and Daryl here, it's weird. like the little love note things back and forth with the crossbows. Like, do we don't need two people with motorcycles and crossbows.
I
Like
almost
the I don't know. I don't care for it.
I almost wish that going back to that season where Daryl fell in with that group when Beth got taken. I kind of wish that was the establishment of the Saviors, and maybe Daryl kind of broke off because he thought that the rest of the group left him behind, so he joined the Saviors, and they kind of turned that character into Dwight and let him have some of the similar moments as Dwight. But I think the little crossbow exchange was cute. Of like you said, it was cute. With them shooting the crossbow back and forth with the little note on it and everything like that. I don't see them keeping both characters around, right? And going forward, and I'm sorry to say, Daryl Dixon fans, it's probably gonna be Daryl, because I don't see them being able to continue forward with this current storyline without Dwight, unless they introduce another character that's opposite from Dwight but give them the same sort of storyline. I don't see it happening, because he rises up and he kind of becomes the leader of the Saviors and then gives that up and kind of goes about back to Rick and becomes Rick's right hand man. He kind of is what Daryl is right now to Rick later on. So it's hard to really see the differentiate those two characters.
That's why I think during this war, I think Dwight's still gonna double cross. I think he's still gonna do everything that he needs to do in this to make it work. But I think towards the end he's going to get killed, and then Daryl's just gonna kind of slip into that, and they're gonna keep going.
I don't see how Daryl's gonna fit with that, though. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have the same motivations that Dwight does. He doesn't have that same, he doesn't hold that lingering hatred, as far as I know, that Dwight does. He didn't get his face burnt by Negan, I don't.
Yeah, because it won't be the same. Like when he later on, when he actually takes Lucille,
right?
I don't think it wouldn't be as powerful if it was Daryl doing it as Dwight doing it.
And when he kind of stands up to go and lead, when he finally decides that he's gonna stand up and go lead the army that Rick and the group create, it's not gonna have that same impact. And I'm kind of iffy on how they're gonna handle the transition to the next bad guy, the next threat. I don't know if they're going to introduce a non-comic book character threat first and then move on to the Whisperers, or if we're going to see the Whisperers sooner, or if the Fear the Walking Dead rumors that are going around with the crossover. Could we possibly see Madison as Alpha, and the other dude that's with her, the Indian dude that's with her, is Beta?
I really could, now that I've seen articles and stuff on it, I could really actually see that.
That means that Felicia would end up with Carl, because she would be so messed up that she would be the one who licks Carl's eye socket.
Oh, that would be different. I think all that's going to be closer to the comic.
You think they're going to start getting closer to the comic now?
Yeah, I think they're going to. No, because every time I say that, they don't. They're going to keep doing what they're doing, and they're going to keep just taking chunks out.
Well, this episode was majority of it was very different from the comic book. They only had those key parts, and Rick, just like in 115, Rick gave that big speech, but they changed the speech in the episode.
Yep.
Then when Gregory comes out and says, the hilltop stands with Negan, go home, nobody yells out, "The hilltop stands with Maggie." Like, Jesus doesn't do that. So it's not until, like, Gregory comes back to the hilltop after he gets pushed off the balcony that Maggie kind of stands up to him. And that's when she gives the whole "I believe in Rick Grimes" speech.
Yep.
So I feel like you said, for a 100th episode, I feel like it had nice callbacks to episode 1 with Carl basically re-walking through Rick's footsteps and then Rick showing up. It kind of showed that Carl still has a little bit of humanity left in him when he went back at the end and left that can of food with the note that said he was sorry.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out going forward. I can't talk right now. The Father Gabriel, though, like, watching Gregory double cross him was kind of something expected. I wasn't. Well, I was expecting it, but when he actually did it, I was like, oh man, like that right there, because Gabriel could have left him and he came back for him. And
yep,
that just shows how much of a coward Gabriel is, and they did a fantastic job of making you hate his character in this episode.
Who, Gregory?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, even more than you already did, because, I already knew that. I just wish it was Negan that would have kicked him down the stairs.
Yeah.
It would have been so much better. But whatever. But yeah, you expected that. So that's why I can't wait till Gabriel escapes and then everybody meets back up, and and Gregory is going to be in that whole Maggie thing, because prior, I guarantee, before, he's going to have to find out. I assume that they're going to know by the time he makes it somewhere, because he knows he can't go back to Hilltop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they already have a head start on him. I mean, they don't know that he left Gabriel, but I'm hoping what happens is somehow they find out before Gregory shows up, so that they're already nicely, and Nagy is like nicely pissed about it, and that's that's even more fuel for the fire of what's going to happen to him. So.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's going to happen.
It's crazy kind of seeing where we left last season on kind of a higher note, where you're used to the cliffhanger where everyone's kind of like down and out, but they left season 7 kind of on a high note where everyone was kind of on top, and then they really started season 8 with that cold open. And I like the cold open. I didn't necessarily, like I said, care for the flash forward. Even though I called it, I didn't necessarily care for it. And I liked the little Weird Al, Another One Rides the Bus in there. And it was cool how they kind of kept coming back to it. But it kind of ruins it a little bit, because now the outcome of All Out War. You know that obviously Rick doesn't die. But the question is, how does he get the cane? What is with this festival? You know that now Judith has got to be, what, like 6 years old?
Yeah, it looks like she's about 4.
You think 4?
Well, in the fast forwards, it looks like she's about 6.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I was thinking maybe she's like 3 in the current timeline. So maybe you're getting a 3-year jump at the fast forward. But it could be not that far. I don't know. It's hard. It's still like I figured the show would do a good enough job of distinguishing or differentiating or distinguishing that time jump, like how many years it was, and it's just as vague as the comic book is.
I know he's got like a nice crew top or crew cut.
Yeah, you've got the old high and tight. So
right?
It's kind of just, it's weird to me, just how they're doing it, and it's got that fuzzy where it almost feels like a dream sequence, and because the way they're doing it, I think they want you to believe that it's a dream sequence and not necessarily what the outcome is, because it's kind of got that glow about it, and it always cuts back to like Rick, like with his eyes closed or staring off, or like he's standing at the graves, and
almost like he's daydreaming it.
Right. Like kind of like the Last Supper scene was in last season, where everyone was at the table in Alexandria. It's kind of like they want you to think that it's a daydream. It's not what actually happens. And it would be interesting if they took a different twist from the show or the comics with the show, and that's what it was. But we know that's not the case. Like that's what happened. So I don't know. I don't know what. It's so hard to predict, harder than I thought it was going to be anyways, to predict where they're going and how they're going to do this.
I mean, I thought those flash forwards, though. I mean, they were talking about the festival, which, I mean, that goes to show you what, if you know the comics, you know exactly what's going on and where it's at.
Yeah, the festival. I mean, they were talking about putting together the festival in the comics. So if they started where the festival already started, that's even kind of a jump in time right there. Like, it's not.
Because that's after the time jump. That's after everything is done and over with, and I mean that's already introduction to the Whispers. That's where Alpha comes in and takes Ezekiel, Rosita, you know what I mean, and puts their heads on stakes.
Yeah, you're right, and so that's what brought my question is are we going to start seeing them characters, the introduction of them sooner than we thought? Are we going to see the Whispers sooner than we thought? Are we going to see them before the end of season 8?
I don't think we will. Maybe. I guess as the way it's looking, yeah. We might just because if they're already showing that far in the future, they have to, because the Whispers is already a thing. By the time that festival is going on, there's already the rumors of hearing when they thought the dead were talking.
Yeah.
So I mean, they have already met Alpha. They've already, you know what I mean? They've already, like, not soon after that is when the boundary is established. You know what I mean? That's the point of the heads on the stakes, is the boundary. So he's already met her. He's already been on the rooftop. He's already looked over the sea of walkers and her army of people and zombies. I mean, a lot has happened up to that point of the festival.
Well, because she sneaks in, and this is all spoiler alert. So if you don't read the comic, you might want to, cut it off right here, but or fast forward. But she sneaks into the festival, and then that's after she sneaks in. That's when Rick goes to find her, and that's when the heads get put on the stakes. That issue came out 3 years ago when we were at Comic-Con. Like the day we went to Comic-Con, it came out.
Yeah.
And
because remember, we didn't read it yet.
Yeah.
Because we had left for San Diego.
So it's interesting, like I said, where they're going with this and kind of how they're hopping around. And I liked the intensity at which Rick was trying to kill Negan. And Gabriel kind of had to come and stop him and say, like, this isn't about you. This isn't about you. This isn't about you. Because he was intently trying to gun him down.
Yes.
And I like how Rick doesn't count to 3. He gets to 7, and shit hits the fan.
Hey, that's better, because that's more of a surprise attack.
But I like
everybody waits to the end of counting.
I was kind of surprised by the way they were picking off all of the people that were scouting out. Like the dude in the tree stand. Like, I didn't understand what happened to him. I was like, wait, I thought it was the same dude from the gas station climbed up there and then killed himself. And I was like, oh, okay. And then when you see Daryl, like the name crossed off the list, and then Daryl takes the other guy out, I was like, oh, all right. Now I understand what's going on. I was a little bit confused of like what was going on with that.
They were taking out anybody that could give them a warning.
Yeah, they were bettering their odds of success. But I almost wish that the 100th episode would have been the introduction of Negan instead of the start of All Out War. But I really can't complain, because as far as the start of All Out War, like, I don't think you could really ask for a better episode than what we just got. I kind of wish that for 100th episode it was a little bit longer. I wish it would have been like a 90-minute episode.
Because if they're going to do a 2-hour Talking Dead, they should have done at least an hour and a half Walking Dead.
Yeah, I don't really
especially
know.
For a 100th episode.
Yeah, I don't really know if you need 2 hours of Talking Dead, but what to each his own. But it'll be interesting for me to see how these other communities come into play as the story plays out. And like you said before, with the way the flashback went, and Old Man Rick, where does this season go? Does it end? Does it end at the mid-season finale with? Is that where All Out War ends, or is it going to go all the way to the end of season 8?
I think it's only going to go half the season.
I don't think we'll see any more flashbacks. I think that was only for this to kind of kick everything off, and I don't think we'll see any more. Flash forwards. If we do, I'll be really surprised. I'll be very surprised.
I think if they did it all season, it would actually drag it out.
Yeah, I think it would slow everything down. I really do. I really think it would really slow things down. And I just, the other hard part I see is if they don't establish that Carol-Ezekiel relationship, who's going to lead the kingdom when he meets his demise, Michonne's not there. Michonne's with Rick. They swapped that story out. So who takes over the kingdom? They don't get together. Who takes out the kingdom?
Maybe they'll have Carol do it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they don't have her establish that relationship with him, do you think she still takes over?
Like, who runs it right now? I can't think of the life of me who runs it right now.
What, the king? Oh, in the book?
In the comic, yeah.
Michonne does.
No, she doesn't. There's someone else running it. Because remember, that's why they won't help Rick right now.
No, the kingdom is helping her. It's the saviors that aren't helping him. Remember Dwight?
And right now it's the Whisperers?
Yeah, Dwight was the leader of the saviors, and Dwight said he didn't want it, and he left. And the woman you saw in tonight's episode, I can't think of her name, the one that was standing up there with Negan, she's the leader of it. And then, I think, remember the I can't think of his name, the black dude with one eye. Put me on the spot here with terrible names now. Because remember, like, they're up the telephone pole when everyone's when the zombies are attacking Alexandria, and like her and Dwight come face to face, and Negan pretty much like goes out there and confronts them. You don't remember that, do you?
William, someone named William runs the kingdom right now in the comic.
Who is William?
That's who's running the kingdom.
I thought it was Michonne.
Remember, he said, "I'm not going to help."
Oh no, that no,
I'm not going to help Rick in this war.
Because I thought that was the Saviors. I'm pretty sure it was the Saviors.
I'm pretty sure it's someone named William. But
we have all these resources at our hands, and we're sitting here playing
No, I'm on a
You don't know
website.
Jack. Yeah, I know.
That's actually that says William, the de facto leader of the kingdom.
Yeah, because Dwight was the leader of the Saviors, and he left. I'm trying to think of the dude's name now. God. He's the black dude with the glass eye. Like, he's got one eye.
Yeah, he's got a patch on.
Is it
He's
a patch?
running.
Or is it
He's like second in command of the Saviors because he's the one that flips out when Rick is having the meter with Regina.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, and that's when he fucking kills her after she tries to attack him.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what kind of has the. That's what begins that tension again. But yeah, the kingdom isn't helping right now in the war against the Whisperers. They're like, we're not going to fight in every Rick Grimes war that comes up.
That's right. Yes, you are correct. I remember that now. It's been so long since I've read that.
Yeah.
And in the king, when they go to the Saviors, and the leader of the Saviors takes their horses.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of that dude's name. I can't think of the guy's name now that takes over. It's John, isn't it? John? Yeah. His name's John.
Yeah.
He's the second in command. And then because Sherry was his former girlfriend. And that's who Rick kills. Because Sherry is Dwight's ex-wife.
See, it's somebody else in the show, though.
Yeah, well, because she takes off, and Dwight's ex-wife takes off in the show.
Yes.
Because very much like the comic, Dwight's ex-wife ends up with Negan, and she takes over the Saviors when Dwight doesn't want him, and Dwight walks away. So then she gets with John, and then, yeah, Rick breaks her neck on accident, and yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking of, John. But yeah. So where do you see the season going from here? Do you think it's going to be a full action-packed season? Do you think it's going to? I don't see it having very many lull points.
I think it's gonna be kind of exactly how this first episode was. Fighting, regrouping, and then I think, Negan's going to come now, just like in the comic. Negan's going to go to Hilltop or Alexandria, and they're going to fight at Alexandria. I think it's going to be some back and forth. But I think it's going to be like this. I think a lot of this season is going to be like this one. They're not going to do the singled out episodes. They're going to jump back and forth, but it's going to be action packed, and then they're going to bring it back a little bit, and then they're going to bring you back up, and then they're going to bring you back again. I think that's what they're going to do. It's going to be kind of like a wave. I think they're doing it to keep you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah. I like the little Easter eggs that you have going through of trying to, I know personally, for being someone who reads the comic, I like the Easter eggs of going through and trying to pick out, like, oh, they changed that, or they changed that, or they changed this, and this didn't happen like this. That I had a lot of fun doing that in this episode too. I had my computer out, and I had the episode. I had all the issues of Walking Dead up, and I was looking through everything. Well, we were texting back and forth during the whole thing. Yeah.
But, so we were, I was jumping between 115 and 116 because that's kind of what they did. Mm-hmm. So I imagine that what they're going to do, I figured the next episode is probably going to do the same thing. It's going to bounce between 116 and 117.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
or maybe 117 and 118, maybe.
Who do you think the first main group of All Out War, the first main group casualty is going to be?
I think it's going to be that dude from the second in command for Negan right now, that white guy that brought Gregory to try to say how many people they had.
Uh-huh.
And then the guy who pushed him down the stairs, I think he's going to fucking kick the bucket. I think he's going to get killed.
Someone in the chat wants to know, like Kyle. Someone in the chat wants to know, would you rather jam your balls on a door or knock your teeth out?
What?
Someone wants to know if you'd rather jam your balls on a door or knock your teeth out.
Balls on the door.
It says that balls on the door. He says he thinks Dwight is going to be the first to go. I don't know. They've got to do, like we said before, they've got to do something with that Dwight Daryl dynamic, considering they're the same fucking character.
I think it'll be Daryl over Dwight.
You think so?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I keep going back and forth. I don't fucking know.
I think if they want to get that big, like, sucker punch to the gut, it's gonna be Daryl. Other than, like I said last episode, other than Rick, Carl, and Carol, Daryl is really the only day one survivor of the group still there. So I think to get that unexpected sucker punch, it's gonna be Daryl that goes. As terrible as it sounds, I think that's, if you want shock value and you want to get a bunch of people in an uproar, it's going to be Daryl.
I think they're just going to change Daryl's character. He's going to start wearing a turtleneck and a bicycle.
Oh my god!
And he's not going to have a crossbow anymore. That's what they're going to do.
He's gonna have a little bicycle with a little bell on it, ching 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 ching,
and a basket so that he can put what's going to be his new weapon. I think it'll be a butter knife.
It's going to be that little revolver he found.
Stupid. That's one part that got me, is they're sitting there and everybody has like, and I'm not good with guns. I don't know what kind of guns they had, but they had like
AK-47s, M16s,
ARs,
AR-15s,
and Maggie's sitting there shooting a 6 revolver like 30 times.
Yeah, right.
Like I think she shot more than everybody else did.
Oh, it's because the pregnant woman, she can't. All that jostling from that big old gun is probably not good for the baby. So they
like, she should have. I mean, instead of her just wasting those 30 bullets she had in that 6-shooter, she just should have went bang, bang, bang. It would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really see her shooting that many times. But I like the shot of like the beginning when all the community's coming together. They're reinforcing everything and reinforcing the cars, and I think it's a really smart move that they made those like mobile walls out of the cars with the sheet metal and stuff.
They should have just stuck to the comic and hid behind the bus.
And I like that you get like the fact that the kingdom is old school and they have the guy working the forge there and the blacksmith, because in the comics Carl apprentices to be a blacksmith, and you kind of I really enjoyed the kind of like these nods, and I even really liked the down moments when you had like Tara and Carol on the bridge sitting there waiting, and she's like writing down times, and she's got the licorice hanging out of her mouth. And
where the fuck did she get licorice?
Right?
Has she been hoarding that shit? Where do you get licorice from?
And she's kind of sitting there counting down, and when she hits 0 and nothing shows up, and then they finally come on, she's like, close enough, and then they continue on with the mission. But yeah, I just even with, and I know we keep harping on it, but even with the whole Daryl and Dwight crossbow moment, that just goes to show you they're the same goddamn person.
Right.
You know?
That was so cute. Oh,
like
crossbow text messaging.
It's a modern thing, man. Maybe they're gonna change Daryl and him and Dwight.
Where the fuck did he also find a crossbow?
Him and Dwight are gonna be lovers. I like that Dwight is still wearing Daryl's motorcycle vest too, with the wings on the back of it.
It is, yeah. It is Dwight's though. I hope they always do that. Even if they keep both characters and they live in the same, I hope they live across the street from each other, and that's what they do to talk to each other.
Just shoot crossbows through each other's
constantly. Sup? Nothing.
I still like. I don't think that I guess he's got to grow on me more, but I don't think Dwight was well casted.
I think he's better than fucking the numbnuts that's playing Negan.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Yeah. At first I was all right with him, but the more I watch him, the more I just don't like it.
It's not the comic book Negan. Like I understand like it's his own adaptation of it, but it's just not. It doesn't feel the same. Like I still think Henry Rollins was the best choice to be Negan. Like it just doesn't. It doesn't feel the same. He's not like we said. He's not as cold as. He's more psychological than the actual comic book Negan is.
Yeah. You know what I did notice in this episode? Daryl's a kick-ass shot on a motorcycle.
Yes, he is.
That motherfucker doesn't even need to aim.
Rick can't hit Negan, who's 20 feet in front of him, cowering behind part of an RV that exploded, but Daryl can definitely hit some barrels while he's motorcycling around.
He fucking... Dude, he can just barely turn and just look. He doesn't even have to fucking close one eye or nothing. He can shoot through zombies into fucking explosives. I'm telling you.
Cringe 100 in the chat wants to know, how do you feel about the Walking Dead Fear the Walking Dead crossover?
Garbage. Fuck that. That's stupid. Stay away from each other. Only because I made that outlandish fucking... what I was going to do if it actually happened. That's the reason I don't want it to happen.
I think even though they said when Fear the Walking Dead started, I think it was inevitable. And Fear the Walking Dead has struggled, and we know this. Like, we weren't fans or supporters of the show for the first 2 seasons, but the 3rd season really picked up because it started to be less about the zombies and more of like just people and how people become shitty to each other when the world falls apart, and how just like the fall of man, and you're seeing them descend into basically primitive times, and how certain things like water become the new currency, and it's kind of like, what would you do to help your own, and you're not really, it's not really that mankind aspect to anymore. It's more focused on the people. And I would
rather have The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. I'd rather have Fear the Walking Dead somehow nod The Walking Dead than actually something cross over to where they are together. Like, I like that they're separate, that they're doing separate things in separate places, and they're far away from each other, and they're not. I would rather it stay far away from each other.
But then it becomes how it depends for me how they do it. Are they going to, if they do it like they said, where they're going to have Abraham, because they make a lot of nods to Houston. So are they going to have it where Abraham runs into them and they roll with Abraham for a while? Or is it going to be like the other rumor where they could potentially Madison could end up being Alpha and they turn into the Whisperers? It to me just really depends on how they go about it. And what the full effect of the crossover is. Is it going to be just one episode? Is it going to be multiple episodes? Is it going to be this one character's backstory? They could even do it to where Negan runs into them. Negan goes from group to group. I don't know if you've read the short, the Here's Negan that they used to kind of push the Image First magazine when they first came out with it. But Negan, when his backstory, he goes from group to group to group before he falls in with the Savior. So it could even be Negan that ends up with him. Like, I know Jeffrey Dean Morgan is really pushing for a Negan, a Negan's origin story episode, and I would love to see it play out. But
I don't remember, but in the Negan one shots of the backstory, where did Negan live? Did they establish that? Because I don't remember.
I think he's in Virginia.
So that to do that means the Fear the Walking Dead cast would have to get all the way to Virginia.
I don't know if it establishes. I'm just saying that because that's where he is now, but he might not have been. I don't think it says where. I mean, if anyone knows that's listening, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it establishes where he's from. I know it establishes like his wife and it establishes why his bat is named Lucille.
Yep, after his wife.
And you get what he was before he was Negan, and before shit hit the fan. He was
I think he's always been Negan.
Well, he was a two-timing ping
pong. I think his
pong.
name's always been Negan.
No, I know, but I'm just saying like who he was as far as like his job. But he was a teacher, and he played ping pong, and I'm trying to see if it says where he came from. Let's see. He was a gym teacher. He was a used car salesman. It does not say where he hails from. So I don't think it's ever been established. But still, like, I could really see, like... Oh, wait, pre-apocalypse, he was in Virginia. Negan was a high
Abraham
school
makes
teacher.
the most sense, though.
Yeah. He was he was in Virginia. No, hold on. That's pre-apocalypse, post-apocalypse. Does not say. So, yeah. Who knows? I would assume he was in, like, Virginia, Baltimore, I should say in Baltimore, but Virginia, Maryland, D.C., that area.
So I guess Abraham and Eugene make the most sense in doing a crossover. I mean, I guess a crossover wouldn't be too horrible if it's like, you know what I mean? Like Abraham's not on the show anymore. So, I mean, I guess, because what was it? The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, there's like they made it start in California, so there's at least, I would say, 7 months difference? They're not that far behind or ahead of the Walking Dead.
I think they take place at the exact same time. But the difference is that through the beginning, through what you see in the first season of Fear the Walking Dead, Rick is in a coma. So once Rick wakes up, shit has already hit the fan. So
yeah, but they kind of made it sound like it kind of started in California and it worked its way out.
No, I think it started. I think it started everywhere at the same time because you got to remember the Oracle.
That's not how things like that work.
The Oracle, the fat little pimple-faced kid from Fear the Walking Dead season 1. He said, the Reddit guru. He said that there was complaints of it in multiple cities.
That's true.
So I don't think it necessarily started in California, but I don't think they've never said, and Robert Kirkman has never said what the epicenter of it was. So
his brain.
Yeah, so they essentially take place at the same time. So I'm assuming that Rick is in a coma. I'm guessing that by season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead is probably when Rick is just waking up. And then going forward. So they're probably right now, as far like where Fear is, they're probably right now just getting
to the
ready.
CDC.
Yeah, to the CDC. Yeah, because it's still fairly early in Fear the Walking Dead. Like it's not. It's you don't like a lot of the zombies still aren't that decayed. They're still very fresh looking. So it's hard to match up those two timelines. But I think if they do it a specific way, like it's a specific character, it'll be good. I think it'll be terrible if they all just kind of show up at the gates of Alexandria and she's like, "I'm Madison, let me in."
What I hope happens is they make it to Houston, and Madison and them is on one side of the street, and Abraham's on the other side, and they just walk in different directions. And they just look at each other, and they keep walking.
Well, really, though, who of the group makes sense? Michonne, because she was on her own. Then Abraham, because he was on his own, because he was trying to protect his wife and kids. Or his daughter, so he was on his own in the Houston area, and they keep talking about Houston. Maybe Morgan, I guess, if they stumble across the town where Morgan's crazy in. But really, other than that, Tyrese is dead, Sasha's dead, so they're gone. So it really, there's not a whole lot left to. Daryl's been with Rick since day one. Glenn was with Rick since day one, so it's not going to be anyone that was like. With Rick's group, unless it was they somehow fell in with Merle when he was trying to go to to Woodbury. So it's hard to say where that all lines up. Maybe they were locked outside.
I just wish they would stay apart from each other.
I don't have that big a deal with it. I think I did it first because I absolutely did not like Fear the Walking Dead. Like I grinded through the first season like a video game, you're grinding for loot in a video game. Like it was not fun. And even
that means they're gonna have to initiate something that's gonna take them to the East Coast.
Well, like I said, unless they meet, I think Abraham makes the most sense. And I think now they're just trying to throw things out there to get you off the trail, because if they're talking about going to Houston, they're so focused on going to Houston. Abraham's from that area. He makes the most sense.
Because I guess then there could be a conversation where he's got Eugene and they're heading to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And maybe something will happen where they have to part ways, and then that's where they show, hey, we met somebody that knows the cure. We need to head to Washington, D.C. as well then.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they deal with it. Like I said, it's all to me, the quality of that crossover lives and dies on how they do it, and whether it makes sense or not. Like, if they're like, oh, Rick has a sister, and her name is Madison, I'm like, okay.
I'll be pissed.
We know Rick has a brother. We knew from that Walking Dead one-shot that Rick has a brother. He's overseas. Isn't he doing the running of the bulls or something like that when the apocalypse hits?
Uh-huh.
And he gets on a boat, and we don't know what happened to him as he sails away, because he talks about his brother Rick, who's a sheriff, and his nephew Carl. So it's but thanks Cringe 100. He said, I kind of dig this podcast. I subbed with notifications, and I like the video.
Video?
Just the live stream.
So we're live streaming?
Yeah.
Where?
On YouTube.
No way.
Yes, sir.
So does it have our... What does it look like? Does it look like... Does it just going back and forth with our icons? Or
no,
what?
it's just the After the Dead logo that I made. There's no video.
Huh.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Crazy.
Fucking crazy.
But yeah, again, it just all depends on how well they do it. And kind of like the one part about tonight's episode that I thought the special effects looked terrible was on the zombie that was tied up to the like electrical pole.
Yeah.
And how half of him was like burnt. It looked really, really poor the way it was done.
They all can't be winners.
No, they cannot.
I wonder when Maggie's going to start showing.
That's the other thing is I don't think she will. I don't think Maggie will show. I think that it'll just be time jump. She has a kid.
Well, I mean, she's pregnant as the war's going on. There's got to be a baby bump soon.
I don't know. I just think that it's like I said. I think
especially
it's going to be pregnant
that
kid.
Second trimester joke.
Yeah,
she should be showing.
Well, and they're talking
at least a smudge.
They're talking about the doctors and the kingdom and everything. And like I said, I'm just saying. I think it's going to be baby. I think it's going to be I'm pregnant. Time jump. Here's Herschel.
You think so?
Yep, I think that's what it's going to be.
It would be a lot funnier her being pregnant, shooting a gun, and killing people during war.
With her baby, like all fucking baby bumped out.
Yeah, like 7 months pregnant. Like she's like waddling with an AR.
Hold on, guys, I'm coming, and she just waddles up there and starts unloading.
And then she's like, "Oh, the baby's pushing. I gotta pee."
Yeah. She stops mid shot to take a pee. But all right, let's wrap this up and get ready to get out of here. Final thoughts. Do you have any final thoughts on episode 100 of The Walking Dead, season 8, episode 1, episode 100 of the series?
It was better than most of all of last season.
It was.
It
made sitting through how slow last season was bearable. Me personally, I liked it. I liked the way it started. I could do without the flash forward. I kind of feel like the flash forward maybe will ruin it for some people, knowing the outcome of what's coming. But I guess if you're not like me and Kyle who read the comic, or anyone else who listens to this that reads the comic, you don't know what to look forward to. So maybe it's not that a big a deal to you as I think it could be. But I think it was a great start to the series, to the new season. I think it was a great introduction to All Out War. It was great to finally see these groups that were at different ends of the spectrum last season to finally come together as one and get ready to take on Negan and the Saviors. It was cool to see them strategically taking members out, and it'll be interesting to see them laying siege to the outposts in episodes to come. So,
do you think he's really going to kill Negan? Because in the comics he keeps him.
No,
but he's making it very adamant in here that he wants to kill him. I wonder if something is going to change his mind.
He was pretty adamant in the comics about killing him too. And then he, in order to make a new world, because he makes the comment in the show, or he makes a comment in the comics, he's kind of alluded to in the show already, that is, if you kill people, you're going to die. Like, if you murder people for no reason, you need to die. And he kind of makes that same statement in the comic book, and then towards the end of All Out War, he's like, if we're gonna have a real, and we're gonna rebuild and have things back to the way they were, and we're gonna have society again, we need to adapt the old mentality, and that's what he decides. I'm gonna be better than you, and instead of killing Negan, he imprisons him.
Something's gonna have to make him change his mind. But yeah, I think it'll be something like that.
But I want to thank everyone for tuning in to our second episode of After the Dead. Hope you all enjoyed Season 8, Episode 1, Mercy. If you want to know which issues of the comic that this episode covered, you can go check out Walking Dead issues 115, 116, 117, 118, and 119. It kind of it kind of sprawled out and took major points through all of those 5 issues. They definitely had some big players in those 5 issues, so those are definitely issues to check out if you're interested. So for this episode of After the Dead,